Alright, let's dive into a story that's as tragic as it is bizarre. Imagine this: a suspected arsonist, a deadly fire, and a body found in a wheelie bin. Sounds like the plot of a dark crime thriller, right? But this is real life, and it happened in St Helens, Merseyside. Here's the thing: what makes this really interesting is how it blends human tragedy with a series of almost surreal twists. Let's break it down. First, the hook. Paul Smith, a 40-year-old man known as Smigger, is believed to have started a fire that killed an elderly couple, Sheila Jackson and Eric Greena. These weren't just any victims, they were described by their families as the queen and king of their family, the glue holding everyone together. Personally, I think this detail is crucial because it reminds us that behind every headline, there are real lives and real losses. It's not just about the crime, it's about the people left behind. Now, here's where it gets even stranger. Smith's body was found in a wheelie bin a week after the fire. But it wasn't just dumped there, he apparently died in a bath after taking a lethal mix of drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and sedatives. One thing that immediately stands out is the question of why someone would end up in a wheelie bin. Was it an attempt to hide the body? Or just a bizarre aftermath of a drug-fueled death? What many people don't realize is that these kinds of details often reveal more about the chaos of the situation than any deliberate plan. From my perspective, the most fascinating part is the coroner's conclusion. The cause of death was ruled as mixed drug toxicity, but there's this lingering uncertainty. The pathologist couldn't rule out drowning or even the possibility of foul play. If you take a step back and think about it, this raises a deeper question: was Smith's death an accident, a suicide, or something more sinister? The fact that the police aren't treating it as criminality adds another layer of intrigue. It's like the story refuses to give us a clean, straightforward answer. Now, let's connect this to the bigger picture. Smith was allegedly part of a drug-related feud. The intended target of the arson was Sheila's son, George, who had refused to sell drugs for a local dealer. This isn't just a random act of violence, it's part of a cycle of crime and retaliation. What this really suggests is how deeply drug networks can infiltrate communities and how quickly things can escalate. It's not just about one man's actions, it's about the systemic issues that allow these situations to unfold. A detail I find fascinating is the role of the other players involved. The mastermind behind the arson was jailed for life, while his trusted lieutenant got 23 years. These aren't small sentences, but they still feel inadequate when you consider the lives lost. Personally, I think this highlights a broader issue with how we address the root causes of crime. Locking people up doesn't always solve the problem, it often just perpetuates the cycle. If you ask me, the real tragedy here isn't just the deaths of Sheila and Eric, or even Smith's bizarre end. It's the fact that this story could happen again in another town, with different names but the same underlying issues. What makes this story stick with me is how it forces us to confront the darker corners of society, the drug trade, the desperation, the senseless violence. It's a reminder that sometimes, the line between victim and perpetrator isn't as clear as we'd like to think. So, here's my closing thought: what if we focused less on the sensational details and more on the systemic failures that allow these tragedies to happen? This story isn't just about a fire or a body in a wheelie bin, it's about the cracks in our society that let people fall through. And that, in my opinion, is the most important takeaway. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.